Hello, Gimbo's Game Theories here. So today, I'm going to mix it up and do something a little different. So today, instead of a video game theory, I'm going to tell you about a movie theory about a movie series that's very close to my heart and dear to me. And that movie series is the Alien series with the Xenomorphs. But today, we're going to talk more about my theory on the true origins of the engineers, the Xenomorphs, and the humans from the Alien movies. So, hope you enjoy, and here we go. You may have noticed that the Xenomorph human hybrid that Kay gives birth to in the Alien movie Romulus looks an awful lot like the engineers from the movie Prometheus. But why is this? Well, let's take a look into this. So, here we go. In Prometheus lore, the engineers were a race of spacefaring beings that lived in the ancient times that appeared to have died off when their experiment, likely the Xenomorphs, got loose and killed them all. However, it's never explicitly stated whether this is true or not in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, but it's alluded to. The engineers appear to have created the Xenomorphs as well as a number of other creatures, including the black oil that comes out of vases in the movie Prometheus, all seemingly connected to the Xenomorph. However, it's never explicitly stated just how they're all connected. So, it appears that the engineers created Xenomorphs as some sort of bioweapon as a crowning achievement to their long evolution as a species towards enlightenment and godhood. Right? Case closed. I mean, it's so simple, right? Wrong. So, the question now is just where did the engineers come from? Did they evolve, or were they created for some purpose? Well, to answer that question, we need to look at two things. The fact that the Xenomorph human hybrid that Kay gives birth to in the movie Alien Romulus looks an awful lot like the engineers, and a statement made by the AI science officer Rook aboard the Romulus when he said, "Mankind is not fit to colonize the stars. They are too weak, too frail, too susceptible to disease and illness." Rook goes on to say, "But I discovered that something in the Xenomorph blood or DNA that allows the Xenomorph creature to rapidly heal itself as well as live for long periods of time without food or oxygen, as well as a few other things, was the key." As Rook put, life in its purest, uncorrupted form. So, the company, Weyland Utani, synthesized a serum for what they extracted from the Xenomorphs to, as Rook put it, evolve humanity to its next level of existence, which is where the Xenomorph human hybrid that Kay gives birth to in Alien Romulus comes from when she injected herself with the company's serum and gave birth to the alien human hybrid. Now, with that being said, if the engineer-looking creature in Alien Romulus was created as an experiment that combined a Xenomorph and human DNA together, then might the whole race of engineers be nothing more than the result, the offspring, of a science experiment that combined a Xenomorph and human DNA for the sole purpose of creating a master race that's better suited to colonize the cosmos than the Frail creators of the engineers. But if this is true, then just who are the creators of the engineers? Well, to answer that question, we need to take a look back at a statement in the movie Prometheus where the two human scientists were analyzing the engineered DNA and found it was a match to human DNA, and came to the conclusion that the engineers came to Earth and created humanity. But what if they got it backwards? What if this is the truth? So here we go. What if many millennia ago an ancient human race, either from Earth or somewhere else, evolved from a primitive state, became technologically advanced, and then set their eyes onto the stars? But what if these ancient humans realized, as Rook and the company did, that humans are far too frail and not suited for space travel, and planetary colonization. So these ancient humans created a hybrid species extracted from their DNA and created in a lab with the sole purpose of colonizing the stars, and it worked. These ancient humans created the engineers to colonize the stars for them, and colonize the engineers did. And the humans and engineers discovered and cataloged many species throughout the universe. However, it was not all peace in the name of discovery, as these ancient humans, perhaps, sought to rule all life in the universe as dictators with an iron fist. However, the inhabitants of the universe, perhaps, did not like this, and unrest and revolutions broke out throughout the universe. So, in response, the ancient humans, through their workers, the engineers, created the Xenomorphs by extracting the purest parts of engineer and human DNA to create the perfect weapon of war and quell the uprisings happening throughout the universe. Now, while there's no way to know for certain if this worked, one thing is for certain. Somewhere along the lines, the engineers perhaps saw humans as inferior and themselves, the engineers, as superior. And so the engineers used these ancient humans' own creation, the Xenomorphs, against them, which most likely ended in the ancient humans being wiped out and the engineers replaced them as new rulers of the universe. So, what if that's the truth? Now, evidence that promotes this idea comes from a hologram seen by the Earth humans in the movie Prometheus, where some sort of holographic beings are running along the engineer's structured halls trying to escape from something. Now, a lot of people who saw the movie said that these beings did not look like engineers. They looked almost human, which gives evidence to the idea that the engineers turned on their creators, the ancient humans, and unleashed the Xenomorphs on them to kill them off, because they saw them as inferior. Also, this engineer hate towards humanity is also evident when Weyland Utani and his associates awaken an engineer, and the engineer tries to kill them all, except for the woman. So, if ancient humans created the engineers and Xenomorphs, and the engineers wiped these ancient humans out, then where did modern humans come from? Well, the answer to that is in the opening scene of Prometheus, where an engineer is likely on Earth and drinks something and turns to dust and disintegrates into the water. And fans of the movie say it was this act that seeded the Earth and was the genesis of what would become modern life on Earth. However, if the engineers hated humanity, then why create a new race of them? And simply to control humanity isn't a good enough answer. So that's essentially my theory on the true origins of the engineers, the Xenomorphs, and the humans. So, hope you enjoyed and found this video interesting. So, yeah, anyways, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and take care. Later.